The gunshot shattered the night air of Gangnam, and Rose Mitchell dove behind a reinforced Mercedes as bullets sparked off metal. Kang Seo's hand gripped her arm, pulling her against him as his men returned fire, the parking structure erupting into chaos. "You should be terrified," he said, his voice rough with something between fury and fear, dark eyes blazing in the muzzle flashes. She met his gaze, her heart hammering but her hands steady. "I am, but I'm not leaving." For 3 seconds, the world narrowed to just them. His hand came up to cup her jaw, thumb brushing across her cheek, and she saw the exact moment his carefully constructed walls cracked. This man who commanded Seoul's underground with iron discipline, who'd built a criminal empire on calculated violence and unwavering control, was looking at her like she'd just become the center of his entire universe. "Rose," he breathed, and the way her name sounded in his accent made her forget they were in a war zone. The afternoon sun filtered through the windows of Park Gallery in Itaewon, casting geometric shadows across the polished floor as Rose Mitchell adjusted the placement of a contemporary sculpture. Her dark curls were pulled back in a S-joint ponytail, small silver hoops catching the light as she moved with practiced precision through the minimalist space. She'd been working here for 18 months, ever since she'd moved to Seoul from New York with a portfolio and hope. Art curation wasn't just her job, it was her passion, finding beauty in unexpected places and bringing it to people who'd forgotten how to see. "Rose, the Choi collection needs to be ready by 3, called Mr. Park from his office, his English accented but clear. "Almost done," she replied, stepping back to examine the arrangement. The gallery specialized in emerging Korean artists, and she'd fought hard to earn her position here. Being a Black American woman in Seoul's art world meant working twice as hard to prove herself, but she'd never backed down from a challenge. Her phone buzzed in her blazer pocket. She ignored it. Probably her friend Mina again, still pushing that setup with her cousin. 2 weeks of relentless texts about how Rose needed to meet someone, experience Seoul's nightlife properly, stop hiding behind gallery walls, and actually live. The afternoon rush finally settled around 4. Rose stood at the front desk, reviewing next week's exhibition catalog. Her black silk blouse and tailored pants were professional but elegant. Everything in her life was intentional now, carefully curated like the art she managed. "You work too hard, dear," Mrs. Park said, emerging from the back office with tea. The elderly woman had taken Rose under her wing, teaching her the nuances of Korean business culture. "I'm fine, Mrs. Park. Just making sure everything's perfect for the opening." Mrs. Park's eyes held concern. "Mina told me about her cousin. Maybe you should go. When was the last time you enjoyed yourself?" Rose laughed softly. "I enjoy my work. Work isn't living." Mrs. Park patted her hand. "You're young, beautiful, accomplished. Life should be more than just surviving." Before Rose could respond, the gallery door opened. 4 men entered, and the energy in the room shifted instantly. They wore expensive suits that screamed wealth and danger, moving with the kind of coordination that said they were used to working together. But it was the man leading them who made Rose's breath catch. Tall with sharp features and perfectly styled black hair, his presence commanded attention without effort. His dark eyes swept the gallery with the assessment of someone who always knew the exits, always calculated threats, always maintained control. Kang Seo. She didn't know his name yet, but she felt his authority like a physical force. "Welcome to Park Gallery," Rose said, moving forward with professional grace. "Please take your time looking around." The group spread through the space, but the leader's attention fixed on her. His gaze was intense, analytical, like he was cataloging every detail. Most people found her intimidating, a confident Black woman in a homogeneous society. He looked at her like she was a puzzle worth solving. "These pieces," he said, his English flawless with a slight British inflection. "They're unconventional for Seoul. Bold. That's the point. Art should challenge, not just decorate." She held his gaze. "We feature artists who push boundaries." Something flickered in his expression. Respect, maybe interest. "You curated this?" "I did. Every piece chosen for how it speaks to transformation and defiance." "Appropriate." He moved closer to a painting, Abstract Violence in red and black. This one. Who's the artist? Kim Min-jun. He explores generational trauma through aggressive color theory. Rose joined him, professional distance maintained. The piece is called Legacy of Blood. Fitting. His attention shifted back to her. You understand Korean art well for someone who isn't Korean. I understand humanity well. Art transcends borders. She met his eyes directly. Pain and beauty speak the same language everywhere. His mouth curved slightly. Not quite a smile, but close. What's your name? Rose Mitchell. Rose. He repeated it, the syllables careful in his accent. Like the flower. Like the thorns. She flashed a quick smile. Both beautiful and dangerous. Now he did smile, and it transformed his face from intimidating to devastating. I think I like you, Rose Mitchell. He gestured to his men. We'll take the Kim piece and that sculpture by the window. Rose blinked. He'd just purchased over 60 million won of art without negotiating. Of course. I'll have Mr. Park prepare the paperwork. Have it delivered to this address. He produced a business card, matte black with silver embossing. And include your card as well. I'll be purchasing more. She took the card, their fingers brushing briefly. Electricity shot up her arm. We appreciate your patronage, Mr. Kong. His eyes darkened slightly. You know who I am. I know you're someone important enough to make Mrs. Park nervous. Rose kept her voice neutral. Beyond that, I mind my business. Smart. He studied her for another long moment. Very smart. When they finally left, the gallery felt smaller, less vibrant. Rose stared at the card in her hand. Kong Seo, CEO, Kong Enterprises. No other information. Rose, Mrs. Park whispered urgently. That man is very dangerous. Very powerful. Be careful. I'm always careful. But even as she said it, her phone buzzed. Mina, with a message that made her heart stutter. Tomorrow night. 7 p.m. Josie and Modern. His name is Kong Seo. My cousin works for him and says he's perfect for you. Successful, sophisticated, and he specifically asked about you. Don't cancel. Please. Rose stared at her phone, then at the business card still warm in her hand. What were the odds? Seoul was a massive city. How many Kong Seos could there be in positions of power? Very slim, she whispered to herself. Saturday evening arrived with unseasonable warmth that made Seoul's streets shimmer with heat and possibility. Rose stood in her apartment bathroom, second-guessing her outfit for the third time. The black midi dress was elegant, with a high neck and a slit that showed just enough leg to be interesting. Her curls were styled into fine coils that framed her face, and she'd applied makeup that enhanced rather than masked. Gold jewelry, minimal but striking. You look powerful, she told her reflection, trying to convince herself. And this probably isn't even the same man. Seoul has millions of people. Her phone chimed. Mina's text was characteristically direct. Car is downstairs. You better not bail. This man is incredible, and he asked for you specifically. I will kill you if you chicken out. Rose grabbed her clutch and headed down. Josie and Modern was exactly the kind of restaurant that made her feel both excited and intimidated. Traditional Korean architecture reimagined with contemporary luxury, every detail screaming old money and new power. The hostess's expression shifted when Rose gave the name. Subtle surprise, maybe curiosity. Right this way, Miss Mitchell. They wound through the restaurant to a private room in the back. More exclusive, more expensive, more isolated. Rose's instincts prickled with awareness. Then she saw him. Kong Seo sat at a low table near the window, his profile sharp against Seoul's glittering skyline. He wore a black suit with a charcoal shirt, no tie, and he looked both comfortable and alert, like a predator at rest. He looked up as she entered, and his expression cycled through surprise, recognition, and something that looked like satisfaction. Rose Mitchell. He stood, and she was reminded again of his height, his presence. This is unexpected. You knew my full name at the gallery, she said, moving into the room. I make it a point to know things. He gestured to the cushion across from him.
Please.
She sat, hyper-aware of his gaze tracking her movements. So you're Mina's mysterious cousin's boss. And you're the woman who told me roses have thorns.
His tone was dry.
I agreed to this meeting to stop the harassment from my associate.
Same.
Rose met his eyes. Mina's been relentless. Shall we make this bearable, then? He poured water with economical precision. Or would you prefer to leave now? I'm here. Might as well see if you're as interesting as you think you are. His laugh was quiet, genuine.
Direct.
I appreciate that. A server appeared with menus featuring dishes Rose couldn't begin to pronounce. She studied the Korean with practice focus, her year and a half in Seoul having given her reading skills but not fluency. The galbi is exceptional here, Kang Seo said quietly. The seafood pancake is also remarkable. What are you having? I asked you first, he countered. Looks like we're both strategic people. She smiled. I'll try the bibimbap. Traditional choice, but I like seeing how restaurants handle the classics. Interesting approach. He ordered for both of them in Korean, his voice carrying authority that made the server bow deeper. When they were alone again, he poured soju into small glasses. So, Rose Mitchell, tell me something real. Real? Everyone has rehearsed answers for first dates. I don't want those. Tell me something true. Rose considered him, this dangerous man in his expensive suit who was looking at her like she mattered. I moved to Seoul 18 months ago because I wanted to prove I could succeed anywhere. I'm still fighting for respect in a world that doesn't always see me. And some days I wonder if I'm strong enough to keep going. She took a sip of soju. Your turn. Something real. He was quiet for several heartbeats. When he spoke, his voice was lower. I've built an empire that gives me everything most people dream of. Money, power, influence. And I'm lonelier than I've ever been. Why? Because power requires distance. Trust is a weakness in my world. Everyone wants something from me. His eyes held hers. Very few people look past what I can provide to see who I actually am. And who are you? That, he said softly, is what I'm trying to discover. Their food arrived, and they ate in companionable silence. The bibimbap was perfect, and Rose mixed it with practice movements that made Kang Seo's expression warm. You know Korean food, he observed. I know good food. And I've been here long enough to learn. She offered him her spoon. Wanna try? It was intimate, more intimate than she'd intended. But he leaned forward and accepted the bite, his eyes never leaving hers. Excellent choice, he said. Though my galbi is better. Before she could protest, he'd switched their bowls. The gesture should have been presumptuous. Instead, it felt natural. They talked about everything. Her love of art, his complicated relationship with family legacy, her experience as a Black woman in Seoul, his careful navigation of both legitimate and underground power structures. Why art, he asked. Why not something more stable? Because art is how people express what they can't say. It's truth without words. She met his gaze. And I wanted to be part of bringing that truth to people who'd forgotten how to see it. That's why you're good at what you do. You actually care. Don't you care about what you do? His smile was slight, dangerous. I care about power, control, building something that can't be taken from me. But caring about people? He paused. That's always been difficult. Until a woman walked into my life and treated me like I was human instead of useful. Rose's breath caught at the intensity in his voice. I didn't know who you were at the gallery. I know. That's what made it remarkable. He set down his chopsticks. You weren't intimidated. Weren't trying to impress me or use me. You just saw me. I see you now, too. What do you see? Someone who's powerful and knows it. Someone who's built walls so high even he can't see over them anymore. And someone who's lonely despite all that power. She leaned forward slightly. Am I wrong?
No.
His hand moved across the table, fingers brushing hers. You're absolutely right. And it's terrifying.
Why?
Because I don't let people see me. Don't let them close enough to matter. But you walked into my gallery and looked at me like I was worth understanding. His thumb traced her knuckles. And now I can't stop thinking about you. Heat pooled in her stomach. This is probably a bad idea. Probably. His eyes darkened. Are you going to run? Should I? Most people would. I'm not most people.
No. His smile was slow, devastating.
You're extraordinary. The word hung between them, heavy with promise. Their server returned with dessert menus, breaking the moment. But when Kang Seo's hand remained on hers, Rose didn't pull away. There's an art exhibition opening next Friday, he said quietly. Contemporary Korean pieces exploring diaspora and identity. Would you go with me? As a date. As whatever you want it to be. His thumb stroked her palm. I just want more time with you. Rose thought about Mrs. Park's warning, about the way his men had moved through the gallery like soldiers, about the fact that he'd admitted to living in a world where trust was a liability. Yes, she heard herself say. His smile was genuine, transforming his face.
Good.
When he walked her to the car he'd arranged, his hand rested on the small of her back. The touch burned through fabric, and Rose felt her body respond to his proximity. Rose, he said as she reached for the door handle. She turned, and he was closer than she'd expected. His hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. This is dangerous, he said softly. For both of us. I know, but I don't think I can stay away from you. I'm not asking you to. His thumb traced her bottom lip, and she felt heat flood through her. Friday.
7.
I'll send a car. Okay. He stepped back, and the loss of his touch felt physical. She got into the car and watched through the rear window as he stood under the streetlight, hands in pockets, watching her disappear into Seoul's neon glow. Her phone buzzed immediately. Mina, in all caps. Tell me everything. Rose stared at the message, then at the city lights streaming past. I'm in so much trouble, she whispered. The week crawled by like trap honey. Rose threw herself into work, preparing for the gallery's next exhibition, meeting with artists, reviewing acquisitions. But her mind kept drifting to dark eyes and dangerous smiles. Wednesday afternoon, a delivery arrived at the gallery during her shift. Rose, package for you. Mr. Park called from the front. She emerged from the back office to find an elegant black box on her desk, her name written in precise Korean calligraphy on the card. Who sent it? Mr. Park's expression was carefully neutral, but she saw concern in his eyes. Rose opened the card with hands that trembled slightly. For Friday. Though you'd look stunning in anything. KS. Inside the box, wrapped in tissue paper, was a dress. Not just any dress. A silk creation in deep midnight blue that probably cost more than her monthly salary. The fabric was exquisite, the cut elegant but bold. There was also a velvet jewelry box containing diamond earrings that caught the light like captured stars. Rose, Mr. Park said carefully. Kang Seo is not like other men. He's powerful, yes, but also dangerous. That world has consequences. I know what I'm doing. Even as she said it, she wondered if it was true. Mr. Park looked at her with eyes that had seen too much. Please be careful. Men like him, they live by different rules. And those rules often involve blood. Rose took the box home and tried on the dress in her small apartment. It fit perfectly, which meant he'd noticed her measurements, memorized them somehow. The thought should have felt invasive. Instead, it made her feel seen in a way she'd never experienced. Friday arrived with clear skies and possibility. Rose spent the afternoon preparing, styling her curls into an elegant updo that showed off her neck and shoulders, applying makeup with precision even though her pulse raced. The dress transformed her. She stared at her reflection and saw a woman who belonged in Kang Seo's world. But underneath the silk and diamonds, she was still Rose Mitchell from Brooklyn, who'd learned early that survival meant being smart and observant. At 6:58, her phone buzzed. Downstairs. The black Mercedes at the curb had tinted windows and a driver who opened the door with military precision. Kang Seo waited inside, and the sight of him stole her breath. He wore a dark gray suit with a black shirt, No tie, and the casual elegance made him look both powerful and magnetic. But it was his expression when he saw her that made her stomach flutter. Raw appreciation that he didn't try to hide. "You're stunning," he said quietly. "Thank you for the dress. Though you didn't have to." "I wanted to." His hand found hers in the space between them, fingers interlacing naturally. "I wanted to see you in something that matches how I see you." "How do you see me?" "Like you belong anywhere you choose to be." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "You have that kind of presence." The exhibition was in Gangnam, all glass and modern architecture. They moved through rooms filled with powerful pieces exploring Korean identity across borders, traditional elements reimagined through contemporary diaspora experiences. Kang Seo's hand never left the small of her back, a possessive touch that sent heat through her body. "You actually understand this," she said as he explained a particularly complex installation. "My mother was an artist before she married my father," he said quietly. "She taught me to see beyond the obvious before she died." Something in his tone made Rose stop. "I'm sorry. It was a long time ago. But she's why I appreciate what you do." He gestured to a painting of fractured landscapes. "She would have loved your gallery work. Tell me about her."
So he did.
Standing in that quiet gallery, he talked about a woman who'd brought light into darkness, who'd taught him that power, without humanity, was emptiness. "She made me promise never to lose myself completely," he admitted. "I'm not sure I've kept that promise." "You're here, aren't you? Sharing her memory with someone who wants to understand." Rose's hand found his arm. "That counts for something." His eyes met hers, vulnerable in a way she hadn't seen before. "How are you real?" Before she could answer, raised voices echoed from the main gallery. Sharp, aggressive, wrong. Kang Seo's entire demeanor shifted instantly. The vulnerable man disappeared, replaced by something lethal and controlled. His hand moved to her waist, pulling her behind him with practiced efficiency. "Stay close," he commanded quietly, all business now. They moved toward the commotion. 3 men had entered, clearly not art enthusiasts. They had the same dangerous energy as Kang Seo's men, but wilder, more volatile. One spotted Kang Seo and smiled without warmth. "Kang Seo, didn't expect to find you here." "Choi." Kang Seo's voice was flat, controlled. "This isn't the place." "Everywhere is the place when you owe territory." Choi's eyes flicked to Rose, assessment cold. "Pretty companion. American?" The dismissal in his tone made Rose's spine stiffen, but Kang Seo's hand tightened on her waist in warning. "Leave. Now." His voice dropped to something lethal. "Before this becomes a problem, you can't walk away from. Your empire isn't what it used to be, Kang. People are saying you're getting soft." Choi stepped closer. Maybe they're right. The tension was suffocating. Rose could see other gallery visitors backing away, staff pulling out phones. "Rose," Kang Seo said quietly, not taking his eyes off Choi. "Walk to the entrance. My driver is outside. Get in the car." "I'm not leaving you."
Now.
The command was absolute, but before anyone could move, Choi's hand went to his jacket. Rose recognized the gesture from too many Brooklyn neighborhoods. He had a gun. "Everyone stay calm," Choi said, though his smile suggested chaos was exactly what he wanted. "Kang, and I just need to have a conversation." Kang Seo positioned himself fully between Rose and Choi, his body a shield. "This conversation is over. You want to talk, we talk through proper channels. Not here. Not with civilians." "Maybe I'm tired of channels." The next 10 seconds happened in fragments. Choi's hand moved. Someone screamed. Kang Seo shoved Rose toward a side exit with enough force that she stumbled. "Run." But she turned back in time to see Choi raise the gun. Rose didn't think, didn't calculate. She just moved, lunging back toward Kang Seo as the gallery erupted in chaos. The gunshot was deafening. Glass shattered. People scattered. Strong arms wrapped around her, and suddenly she was airborne. Kang Seo had grabbed her and was running, carrying her through the side exit like she weighed nothing. They burst into an alley. His car screeched to a stop, doors already open. He pushed her inside and followed, barking orders in rapid Korean to his driver. The car peeled out as another gunshot cracked behind them. "Get down." Kang Seo pushed her head below the window line, his body covering hers as the back windows spiderwebbed with impact. They took corners at impossible speeds. Rose's heart hammered so hard she thought it might burst. Kang Seo's weight was solid above her, protective, and she could feel his heart racing just as fast. Finally, the driver spoke in Korean. Kang Seo responded, then slowly lifted off her. "Are you hurt?" His hands ran over her arms, her face, checking for injuries with frantic precision. "I'm fine. Are you? What were you thinking?" His voice was raw, almost angry. "I told you to run. He had a gun pointed at you. I can handle men with guns." "I can't." He cut himself off, jaw clenching. "You could have been killed." "So could you." She grabbed his face, forcing him to meet her eyes. "So could you, Kang Seo." Something broke in his expression. His forehead dropped to hers, and they breathed the same air in the back of that speeding car. "You're insane," he whispered. "Probably. You should run from me. As far and fast as possible." "I know." His hand slid into her hair, careful of the pins holding her updo. "Rose, don't." She pressed her fingers to his lips. "Don't tell me this was a mistake. Don't tell me to leave. Because I'm not going anywhere. This is my world. Bullets and blood and you," she finished. "This is your world, and you're in it, and I just watched someone try to kill you. And I realized something." "What?" "That I'm already in too deep to walk away. And I don't want to." His eyes searched hers, dark and intense. "You're going to destroy me, or stand beside you." He kissed her. It wasn't gentle or tentative. It was desperate and claiming and full of everything they'd been holding back. His hand fisted in her hair, angling her head, and she opened for him with a sound that was half surprise, half surrender. He tasted like danger and desire, and Rose kissed him back with everything she had, all the fear and adrenaline and want transforming into something inevitable. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his thumb traced her swollen bottom lip. "This changes everything," he said. "I know. There's no going back now. I don't want to go back." His smile was fierce, possessive, devastating. "Good. Because you're mine now, Rose Mitchell. And I protect what's mine." The declaration should have scared her. Instead, it felt like coming home. Kang Seo's penthouse occupied the entire top floor of a building in Gangnam, overlooking the Han River. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered panoramic views of Seoul's lights reflecting off dark water, and the interior was all clean lines and expensive minimalism, with touches of traditional Korean elements. Rose stood in the living room, still shaking with adrenaline, while Kang Seo spoke rapid Korean into his phone. His voice was clipped, authoritative, the voice of a man who commanded an empire and expected absolute obedience. He finally hung up and crossed to her, hands immediately checking her over again. "We need to talk about what happened."
Choi. Who is he?
Head of a rival organization. "We've had an uneasy truce for 3 years, but recently there's been pressure on territory." His jaw clenched. "I didn't think he'd be reckless enough to make a move in public. This is about business. Territory. It's about power. Control. The same things it's always about." He poured whiskey into 2 glasses, handed her one. "But you don't need to worry, don't." She set the glass down hard enough to click against marble. "Don't you dare tell me not to worry. Someone just shot at you. At us. I think I've earned the right to worry. This isn't your fight, Rose." "The hell it isn't." She moved closer, poking his chest with one finger. "You said I was yours. That makes this my fight, too. So don't shut me out when things get dangerous. I'm trying to protect you. I don't need protection from information. I need to know what I'm dealing with. What we're dealing with." She took a breath, steadying herself. "So, talk to me. Really talk to me." He stared at her for a long moment, something shifting in his expression. Then he sat, pulling her down beside him. "My father built this empire on loyalty and fear. When he was killed by rivals, I inherited leadership at 23. I've spent the last decade consolidating power, eliminating threats, building something that can't be easily destroyed. His dark eyes held hers. I've killed people, Rose. Not always with my own hands, but I've given orders that ended lives. I've hurt people who got in my way. I've built an empire on violence and control. Does that terrify you? Yes, she said honestly. But it doesn't make me want to leave. Why not? Because I saw how you looked at art your mother loved. How you treated me like I mattered when I was just a gallery worker. How you threw yourself between me and danger without hesitation. She shifted to face him fully. You're dangerous, yes. But you're not just that. You're complicated. And so is survival. His hands came up to frame her face. You should hate me. I should do a lot of things. Hating you isn't one of them. She covered his hands with hers. I see all of you, Kang Seo. The parts you show the world, and the parts you hide. And I'm not running. Rose. Her name was almost reverent. If you stay in my world, it won't always be like this. There will be more violence, more danger. I can't promise you safety. I'm not asking for safety. I'm asking to be part of your life. Really part of it. She met his eyes steadily. Teach me your world. Let me stand beside you instead of behind you. He pulled back slightly. What are you saying? I'm saying I don't want to be hidden away when things get dangerous. I want to understand your empire. Learn how it works. Her voice was steady, certain. If I'm going to be with you, I want to be your partner, not someone you protect and hide. That's not how this world works for women. Then we change how it works. She stood, pacing in her elegant dress. I'm not fragile, Kang Seo. I grew up in Brooklyn watching people navigate dangerous systems to survive. I'm smart, I'm observant, and I learn fast. Use that. Let me be useful instead of vulnerable. He stood, crossing to her with predatory grace. You understand what you're asking? This isn't romanticized movie danger. This is real. People die. Loyalty is everything. Betrayal means death. I understand. And you still want in? I want to be wherever you are. She held his gaze. If that means learning your world, becoming part of your empire, then that's what I want. I refuse to be the weakness someone can use against you. I want to be your strength. Something shifted in his expression. Not surprise, but something deeper. Respect maybe, or recognition. Most people try to pull me away from this life. You want to dive in. Most people want to change you. I want to understand you. All of you. His kiss was claiming, possessive. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark with something between desire and determination. If we do this, you follow my lead. You learn from me. You don't take risks without permission. I can agree to that. And you understand that once you're in, really in, there's no going back. You'll see things, know things that change you. I already know things that implicate me. Might as well know everything. Her smile was slight. Besides, I'm not afraid of change. He studied her for a long moment. You're extraordinary. Most people would run. You're asking to stay and fight. I'm asking to stand beside you. There's a difference. Not much of one in my world. He pulled her close, his hands spanning her waist. All right. But we start slowly. You learn the legitimate businesses first. Then, if you prove you can handle it, we go deeper. Deal. And Rose. His voice dropped lower. This makes you mine in every way. Not just romantically. You'll be part of my organization. That means loyalty. Complete loyalty. I understand. Do you? Because in my world, betrayal doesn't end in breakups. It ends in blood. I'm not going to betray you, Kang Seo. I'm choosing you. All of you. His smile was slow, dangerous, absolutely devastating. Then welcome to the Empire, Rose Mitchell. Let's see if you're as strong as you think you are. The next 3 months transformed Rose's life completely. Kang Seo kept his word, starting her education slowly. She continued working at the gallery, but her real education happened in the evenings at his penthouse. He taught her about his legitimate businesses first. Import-export companies, real estate holdings, investment firms. She learned how he moved money, cleaned it, made it impossible to trace back to illegal sources. Then he introduced her to his inner circle. His second-in-command, Park Jin-woo, was initially skeptical. A woman, he'd said in Korean, not realizing Rose had been studying. An American woman in our business? A smart woman, Kang Seo had replied in English, his hand possessive on Rose's back. Who understands strategy and loyalty? Treat her with the respect she deserves. It took time, but Rose proved herself. She sat in meetings, learning the rhythms of negotiation and threat. She studied the hierarchy, memorized names and territories. And she asked questions, always questions, absorbing information like a sponge. You're a natural, Kang Seo said one night as they reviewed territory maps in his office. You see patterns most people miss. I'm good at reading systems, Rose replied, tracing supply routes with her finger. Your network is impressive, but there's a vulnerability here. She pointed to a gap in the southern territories. If Choi wanted to hit you, he'd target this. Kang Seo leaned back, studying her with dark eyes. You're right. I've been reinforcing the wrong areas. He pulled her onto his lap, arms wrapping around her waist. How did I ever manage without you? You managed fine. Now you manage better. She kissed him softly. That's what partners do. As weeks passed, Kang Seo gradually showed her the darker side of his empire. The gambling operations, the protection rackets, the careful network of blackmail, and favors that kept powerful people complicit. He took her to meetings in the underground clubs of Gangnam, where deals were made over expensive liquor and implied threats. Rose watched everything, learning the unspoken language of power. She saw how Kang Seo commanded respect through controlled violence, how he rewarded loyalty and punished betrayal with equal precision. And she understood, finally, what it meant to live in his world. 3 months after the gallery shooting, Choi made his move. It came in the form of a hit on one of Kang Seo's warehouses in Incheon. 2 of his men were killed, millions in product destroyed. This is war now, Park Jin-woo said during the emergency meeting in Kang Seo's penthouse. Open war. We need to respond with force. Rose sat at the table with the other senior members, the only woman present. She'd earned her place there, through 3 months of proving her worth. If we respond with direct force, we escalate, she said calmly. Choi wants that. He wants you angry and reckless. So, we do nothing? Park challenged. We do something smarter. Rose pulled up a map on the tablet in front of her. Choi's strength is in Gangnam, but his supply chain runs through Busan. I've been tracking his shipments. If we cut off his supply line, we weaken him without open warfare. Kang Seo leaned forward, eyes sharp. Continue. He has a legitimate shipping company as a front, but I found irregularities in the customs documents. If we feed this information to the right authorities, his entire supply chain gets investigated. He loses money, product, and credibility. She met Kang Seo's gaze. And we never have to fire a shot. The room was silent. Then Kang Seo smiled, slow and dangerous. Do it. Rose coordinates with our contacts in customs. Park, you prepare our people for Choi's retaliation. If this works, he'll know we hit him. Over the next 2 weeks, Rose orchestrated the operation with precise efficiency. She coordinated with Kang Seo's government contacts, fed them information gradually so it looked like their own investigation. And she watched as Choi's empire began to crumble. His shipments were seized. His accounts frozen. His legitimate front company investigated for fraud. By the time Choi realized what was happening, it was too late. You're a natural strategist, Kang Seo said one evening as they watched news reports of Choi's company being raided. You dismantled his operation without spilling blood. I learned from the best. Rose settled into his arms on the couch. Besides, I told you I was good at reading systems. His system had weaknesses. Choi won't take this lying down. I know. That's why I've already prepared our defenses. She showed him her tablet, displaying security arrangements and contingency plans. I've coordinated with Park to reinforce all our locations. And I've identified Choi's most likely retaliation targets. His arms tightened around her. You've thought of everything. That's my job now, isn't it? Thinking of everything so you don't have to do it alone. She turned in his arms, serious. I told you I wanted to be your partner. Did you believe me? I'm starting to. His kiss was deep, claiming. You're becoming indispensable, Rose Mitchell. My empire runs better with you in it. Good. Because I'm not going anywhere. But Choi's retaliation, when it came, was more personal than either of them expected. Rose was leaving the gallery late one Thursday evening when a black van pulled up beside her. She had 3 seconds to recognize the danger before someone grabbed her from behind. Training kicked in, the self-defense Kang Seo had insisted she learn. She fought, landed a solid elbow, heard someone curse.
But there were too many of them.
A cloth pressed to her face, chemical sweet. The world tilted, and everything went dark. Rose woke in a concrete room that smelled of mold and machinery. Her hands were zip-tied to a chair, her head pounding from whatever drug they'd used. The dress she'd worn to work was torn at the shoulder, and her phone was gone. Awake finally, Choi's voice came from the shadows. He stepped into the dim light, his smile cold. Rose Mitchell, Kang Seo's American pet. If you're trying to use me as leverage, it won't work, Rose said, her voice steadier than she felt. He doesn't negotiate. Oh, I know. That's what makes this interesting. Choi circled her slowly. You're the one who destroyed my supply chain. Very clever. I underestimated you. Most people do. Kang's little strategist. His secret weapon. Choi stopped in front of her. Tell me, does he know you're in love with him? Or is this just a game for you? That's none of your business. Everything about Kang is my business. Especially his weaknesses. Choi pulled out his phone. Let's call him, shall we? See how much you're worth. He dialed, putting it on speaker. Kang Seo answered on the first ring. Choi. I have something of yours. If you've hurt her. The raw fury in Kang Seo's voice made Rose's chest tighten.
She's alive. For now.
But that depends on you. Choi's smile widened. You have 24 hours to transfer all your Gangnam territories to me. Every business, every operation. Complete surrender. That's not going to happen. Then your American queen dies. Slowly and painfully. Kang Seo was silent for 3 seconds. Rose could hear his breathing, controlled but labored. When he spoke, his voice was lethal. You made a mistake, Choi. Touching her was your last mistake. Big words from a man who has no leverage. I have all the leverage. Because while you were grabbing Rose, my men were grabbing your sister. And your mother. And your teenage nephew. The silence was deafening. You're lying, Choi finally said, but his voice had lost its confidence. Am I? Check your phone. I just sent you proof. Rose watched Choi's face drain of color as he looked at his phone. You wouldn't. They're civilians. And Rose is an art curator. But you didn't seem concerned about that. Kang Seo's voice was ice. Here's my offer. You release Rose unharmed, right now, and I return your family. Also unharmed. You have 1 hour to decide. This is 1 hour, Choi. After that, your mother starts losing fingers. Your choice. The line went dead. Choi stared at his phone, then at Rose with undisguised hatred. He's bluffing. You really think so? Rose kept her voice calm, despite her racing heart. You took his partner. Did you really think he wouldn't respond with equal force? He wouldn't hurt civilians. Wouldn't he? You clearly don't know Kang Seo as well as you think. Rose held his gaze. He'll do whatever it takes to get me back. And he'll make you suffer for taking me. The only question is whether you want your family to suffer, too. Choi paced, agitated, repeatedly checking his phone. 45 minutes later, it rang. One of his men, panicked voice in Korean. Rose didn't catch all of it, but she caught enough. Kang's men had Choi's entire family. And they were sending proof of how serious they were.
Fuck.
Choi screamed, hurling his phone at the wall. He turned to Rose, pulled out a gun. This is your fault. All of this.
No.
This is yours. You started a war you couldn't win. Rose kept her voice level. Now you can end it by letting me go. Or you can watch your family die. Choose. For a long moment, Choi's hand shook. The gun pointed at her head. Then he lowered it. Cut her loose, he barked to his men. They hesitated.
Now.
Rose's hands were freed. Choi grabbed her arm, hauling her up. You tell Kong this isn't over. Tell him I want my territory back. You'll get your family back. The territory was never on the table. Rose pulled free of his grip. And if you ever come near me again, Kong Seo won't negotiate. He'll just kill everyone you've ever loved. Choi's men drove her to a neutral location and shoved her out of the van. Rose stood in an empty parking lot for 3 seconds before a familiar Mercedes screeched to a stop. Kong Seo was out of the car before it fully stopped, crossing the distance between them in seconds. His hands were on her face, her shoulders, checking for injuries with frantic precision. Are you hurt? Did they touch you? I'm fine. Bruised ego more than anything. But her voice broke slightly. I'm okay. He pulled her against him, arms like steel bands. I was terrified. For 6 hours I was absolutely terrified. You got Choi's family. Of course I did. Did you think I would let anything happen to you? He pulled back, his eyes fierce. I would have burned down all of Seoul to get you back. I know. She cupped his face. I knew you'd come. Always. He kissed her then, desperate and claiming. You're mine, Rose.
Mine.
And anyone who touches you dies. I love you, she said against his lips. I should have said it before, but I love you, Kong Seo. I love you. His forehead pressed to hers. More than power, more than empire. You're everything. They stood in that parking lot, wrapped around each other, while his men maintained perimeter security. Finally, he led her to the car. Choi's family? She asked as they drove. Safely returned. I gave my word. He glanced at her. But Choi himself won't be a problem anymore. What did you do? What needed to be done? He violated the most sacred rule in our world. He took something of mine. And everyone needs to know that has consequences. His hand found hers. He's gone, Rose. Permanently. She should have been shocked, maybe horrified. Instead, she felt only relief. Good. His smile was slight. My queen is bloodthirsty. Your queen is practical. He would have kept coming for us. She squeezed his hand. I told you I wasn't fragile. No, you're definitely not fragile. You're perfect. The aftermath of Choi's death rippled through Seoul's underground. Kong Seo absorbed Choi's territories, consolidating power in a way that made him untouchable. And Rose stood beside him through all of it. She became known in their world as Kang's American Queen. The woman who thought like a strategist and stood beside her man instead of behind him. Some of the old guard disapproved. A woman in their meetings making decisions, wielding influence. But Kong Seo made it clear. Anyone who disrespected Rose answered to him. And after Choi's fate, no one wanted that. 6 months after the kidnapping, Rose stood in Kong Seo's office, reviewing acquisition reports for their latest legitimate business venture. She'd moved into his penthouse, officially and completely. Her apartment was gone, her life fully integrated with his. You're frowning, Kong Seo said from where he sat at his desk. The numbers don't match. She pointed to the screen. Someone skimming. Small amounts, but consistent. Show me. She walked him through her analysis, pointing out the discrepancies. His expression darkened. Park's nephew. He handles those accounts. I know. I'm sorry. Don't be. You just saved us from a larger problem down the line. He pulled her onto his lap. You're better at this than half my senior people. I'm motivated. Your empire is my empire now. She kissed him softly. I protect what's mine, too. Speaking of which, he reached into his desk drawer. I have something for you. The box was small, velvet, unmistakable. Rose's breath caught. Kong Seo. Open it. Inside was a ring. Not ostentatious, but stunning. A single diamond set in platinum. Elegant and perfect. Marry me, he said quietly. Not because you're useful, though you are. Not because you're beautiful, though you are. Marry me because I love you. Because you're my partner in every way that matters. Because I can't imagine my life without you in it. Yes. She didn't hesitate. Yes, absolutely yes. He slipped the ring on her finger, and it fit perfectly. Like everything else between them, it was inevitable. Their wedding was small, private. Just his inner circle and a few of her friends. Mina cried, happy and amazed that her matchmaking had led to this. Mrs. Park attended, still worried but proud. And Rose wore white, standing beside Kang Seo and promising forever to a dangerous man she loved with everything she had. The reception was at his penthouse. As the night wound down and guests departed, Rose stood at the window overlooking Seoul. Kang Seo's arms wrapped around her from behind. No regrets, he murmured against her neck. Not one. She leaned back into him. This is where I belong. My queen. Your partner. She turned in his arms. Your equal. Always. He kissed her slowly. I love you, Rose Kang. Her new name sent warmth through her chest. I love you too. Years passed and their empire grew. Rose became as feared and respected as Kang Seo himself. She handled strategy while he handled enforcement. She built networks while he maintained control. Together, they were unstoppable. The gallery eventually closed, but Rose opened a new one. Larger, more prestigious, funded by their legitimate businesses. It became the place in Seoul for contemporary art, and she ran it with the same precision she brought to everything. On their 5th anniversary, they stood on the penthouse balcony watching the sun set over the Han River. Rose's hand rested on her still flat stomach, the secret she'd learned that morning making her smile. What are you thinking about? Kang Seo asked, his arms around her. The future. Our future. She turned to face him. How do you feel about expanding the empire? We're always expanding. I mean literally. Biologically. His eyes widened. You're pregnant. 3 months. I wanted to be sure before I told you. His hands immediately went to her stomach, reverent and possessive. Rose. I know this complicates things. The business, the danger. This changes everything. He cupped her face. In the best possible way. Our child will grow up in this world. They'll know what you are, what we are. They'll know we built something together. That we fought for each other. That love and loyalty matter more than anything. He kissed her softly. They'll know they're cherished. No regrets? About any of it. Not one. His smile was fierce, protective, absolutely devastating. You're my salvation, Rose. You and this child. Everything I've built means something now because I have you to build it with. She kissed him as the sun set over Seoul, bathing them in golden light. 2 people from different worlds who'd built an empire together. The journey had been dangerous and complicated and absolutely worth it. Because some things, some people, were worth fighting for. And they'd found exactly what they'd been missing in each other. A partnership forged in danger, built on trust, and sustained by a love that refused to be anything less than extraordinary. If this story made your heart race, if you felt every moment of their fear, their passion, and their ultimate love, then do me a favor. Drop a comment below and let me know where in the world you're watching from. I love connecting with my incredible fans and seeing how far these stories go. Please like, share, and subscribe for more romance stories. Your support is what allows me to keep bringing these stories to life. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.